So when we look at the elite athletes across multiple different sports, one thing is actually quite common between all of them, no matter their sport or sporting situation. And that thing is that at some point, a lot of these elite athletes had to go through some point of adversity, some point of failure to actually bounce back, grow from, and actually achieve the sporting success that we did. So for example, in the sport of basketball, we got Michael Jordan. Everybody knows that at some point he got cut from his high school team, or in his early career years with Boston and Detroit, he was getting destroyed by them, but then he grew from that adversity and then achieved the sporting success that he did. Or in the sport of football, we have Liverpool in recent years. They were in the Champions League final, they lost Premier League, second place, but then after that adversity, they grew from it and went on to kind of win those cups and stuff like that. So across all these different sports, a lot of these high achieving athletes actually went through some portion of adversity and failure, and they grew from it, and that actually helped them achieve what they did later on in their career. And so in this video today, what I'm going to be doing is kind of breaking down that whole area of failure, of adversity. Why is failure and adversity actually important for athletes? And how do these athletes actually use adversity to grow, learn, develop, and then achieve the sporting success that they do? So in the sport of boxing, we can actually see another example of this adversity. So Tyson Fury, amazing boxer, one of my favorite boxers in the heavyweight division. He was dominating early in his career. He got a title shot against Vladimir Klitschko and actually won, which is amazing, which was so surprising to see at the time, that he actually produced an amazing performance and actually deserved to win, and he did. But then as the years progressed, we kind of saw that his decline from actually being in the ring. He then later on came out and was saying that he had these kind of feelings of depression, of anxiety, of suicidal thoughts, and all these kind of negative psychological issues, and that was kind of stopping him from coming back in the ring. And so years passed, but then as we know now and today, he then made his comeback, produced some amazing performances, destroyed Deontay Wilder, and then now is actually a world heavyweight champion again. And so we can really see these areas of adversity that so many different athletes actually experience from multiple different sports. And so as these stories are actually quite common with these whole comeback stories, adversity, and then sporting success later on, why does this actually happen? And I believe that there's so many different reasons why this actually happens that we can't just factor into just one or two situations. There are so many reasons why. But I believe one of the reasons is that when you are an elite performer, you are trying to perform at your best consistently, and you do have to not only perform at your best all the time, but then you have to then sometimes elevate from that normal performance in those crucial moments, in those finals, in those playoff games and stuff like that. And so in those situations, sometimes injuries can happen, sometimes factors that you can't even consider or factors you can't even impact happen, where maybe your teammates perform really poorly and stuff like that. And so there's so many different factors which can actually make someone actually experience adversity in these areas of failure. Losing in a team sport isn't just down to one person, it's down to multiple people. Or even losing in single player sports, it's not even just down to that one athlete, it can be down to so many situations and factors that are outside of the athlete's control. And so with these situations of adversity and failure, whether that comes from an injury, something physical, or something psychologically not being clutch in those performance moments, those areas of adversity can kind of be like a teacher to the athlete. It can kind of tell them that, okay, you want to achieve this one thing, but then what you want to achieve is just on the other side of this adversity. So this area of adversity can actually be teaching them and showing them this is what you need to improve, whether that's something physically or something mentally, to be able to actually produce that great performance that you're going to need when you're in that final, when you're in that playoff series, to actually then win the trophy. And so we can see that this definitely has a big impact on a lot of athletes, and maybe some athletes learn from it and use this experience to then grow and develop, but some athletes don't fully use adversity and often go towards excuses and reasons why they didn't win. And so even if these excuses are actually valid and it actually makes sense why they didn't win, by focusing so much on that excuse rather than extracting that really good information that you need about the reason why you didn't win, this then causes the athlete to miss a huge opportunity and a huge lesson to actually grow, develop in a specific area of their game, to then apply that and improve, to then get back into that situation, that final, and actually win it. And so in an amazing book that I just finished reading called Black Box Thinking, it kind of talks about this whole aspect about adversity, failure, rejection, and how this can actually help people and how sometimes this doesn't help people. They gave some amazing examples in the world of sports, in the world of aviation, medication, and stuff like that. So many great examples. But then one thing common around all these different areas was this area and this whole idea of self-justification. So self-justification are these kind of reasons and different excuses that athletes and people just in general use when they don't get their way or when they've failed in a specific area. And so on the one hand, this actually does sometimes provide some benefit, because this then doesn't allow people to just agonize over that failure and agonize over those negative decisions that they've made, and they can kind of move on from it. But then one thing that this does do, self-justification, it destroys the very possibility of actually looking back at that situation, learning from it, extracting really useful and effective information from that situation, applying that, and then moving on. And this is what some athletes do. They go through that adversity situation, they're right in the thick of it, and instead of learning from that actual situation, they look to excuses and reasons why they didn't win. It wasn't down to them personally, it was some other reason why they didn't actually achieve the sporting success that they wanted to. But then there are some other athletes who are at the elite of the elite, and not only do they also go through those adversity situations, but they actually learn and grow from it. And so how athletes actually learn and grow from these adverse situations, they utilize two specific components. One, they have a system in place where they're able to kind of extract that information. So they're asking the right questions, they have the right process to actually learn from that situation. But then the other component that they have is that they have the right mindset that allows them to actually view that situation as a learning opportunity. And so both of these components are very, very necessary, because they both combine very well together to actually allow the athlete to learn from the situation, extract useful information, and actually enjoy the process of improving and developing.
15 seconds to go, a chance to tie, and Edsel with it. Got a chance if it gets close to 5. Bryant for the tie, another air ball. It's over, it's over. Abu believe, it's over. It's all over.
We flew back to LA that night, and I got home, it's probably like 3 in the morning, and I went down to the high school, which is down the street from our house. And the janitor let me in the gym, and I shot all day. All day. I mean, all day. And this was right after that playoff game. And I didn't leave the gym. I just kept shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting and shooting and practicing and practicing. And I got a chance to let out the steam of disappointing my teammates and millions of fans. And I was really excited when the schedule came out and I saw we had Utah.
So as we can see in that whole example about Kobe and that situation that he experienced in the playoffs, we can really see that it definitely did affect him. And he had two options. He could have really just used excuses and reasons why he didn't actually hit those shots, or he can use what he did, those two components. He had the right mindset, the Mamba mentality, to actually learn from the situation, and he had the right system in place to then look back at that situation, see what he did wrong, go to the gym, improve on those different techniques, and then come back to then destroy the Jazz in the next game that they had, and then actually go on to then have an amazing career that he did have whilst he was playing. And so some of these athletes use this whole mindset, this whole approach, and this actually helps them grow from the adversity, learn, and then achieve the sporting success that they do. But then of course there are some athletes who have this, but then in combination of being, 6'8", 220 pounds, high IQ, can just jump out the gym. So we can see that some athletes, what they achieve at their peak and actually go on to the mountaintop and actually win that championship, win that trophy, it's a combination of having that whole process of adversity and failure, but then also having those physical skills that needed to then actually win and dominate in their sport. And so we can see that across some sports, there are some kind of similar psychological skills that these athletes are using, despite their sporting demands and physical skills needed in their sport being very, very different. So although that is the case, they are still kind of learning from adverse situations, they are growing from it, and this is what's helping athletes actually achieve the sporting success that they do after these negative experiences that they face. And so thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button, share a comment, and subscribe for more sports psychology content just like this.